Dear viewers, welcome to our channel GVS Bank Academy. Today I am going to discuss some banking important topics for promotional exams and JAB. Banking, JAB examination also. These are very useful. These topics, all these points are asked from various examinations. That's why. Garnish order and attachment order. This is very one of the important and easy topic for promotion as well as JAB, CAB. In the JAB examination, sometimes they are asking case study also. Case study. That's why garnish order and attachment order. Garnish order and attachment order, you will see. Issuing authority or legal. What are the legal provisions? Competent court under section 60 of Civil Procedure Code. Competent court for garnish order is going to be issued by competent court under section 60 of Civil Procedure Code. Attachment order is going to be issued by their income tax authorities, customs and GST authorities for recovery of their dues, for recovery of their government dues. This is the garnish order and attachment order. At the time of issuing the order, what is the relationship between the banker and customer? Banker-customer relationship is banker is debtor and customer is creditor. So, customer balance with the bank, that is the main. If a bank customer is having a deposit account or deposit accounts, at the time only this relationship will exist. That is called as banker is debtor and customer is creditor in the garnish order and the attachment order. The prime reason for this is if a customer is having bank account with deposits and he has not repaid the private dues or government dues, at that time under garnish order or attachment order, the respective courts are going to issue these orders. What is the limitation period for garnish order? Limitation period 12 years. From the date of issue 12 years. Attachment order, since it is issued by government departments, 30 years. Income tax is government, customs and so any government departments, the limitation, income tax, customs and GST, limited from the date of issue 30 years. 30 years. Recovery of liability, garnish order issued for recovery of private dues. Any bank customer defaulted repayment of private dues, at that time respective court can issue order. That's why that is called private dues. The attachment order issued for statutory liability, that is income tax, customs and GST, government dues. So this is the recovery of private dues, garnish order, recovery of statutory dues, government dues, attachment order. Applicable to which amount? So what type of amounts are going to be charged? Garnish order is applicable on the clear balance available in the account. At the time of receipt of the garnish order, whatever the clear balance is there, on that balances only the garnish order is going to be attached. But as for attachment order, the balance available at the time of receipt plus on the subsequent balances which was deposited by the customer, that balances also will be attached. So available balance available at the time of receipt of the attachment order and amount of deposits after receipt of attachment order also attached. Not applicable. The balance is not applicable. Loan accounts. Unused cash credit means this is a loan account. Unused overdraft limits, this is not applicable. Unused cash credit or overdraft. Unused cash credit or overdraft, both the cases also not applicable. Deposits, either demand savings, current or time deposits. Both the cases, savings, time deposit, current deposits, all type of deposits are going to be attached under this. A depositor is a judgment debtor in the court of law. He is a debtor in the court. In the attachment order, he is assessee in default. So he has not he is not paid the income tax, customs and GST dues. That's why he is a defaulter in the default. Assessee is in default in payment of these things. Income tax, customs and GST. Banker, judgment, debtor's debtor. So already banker is a debtor, debtor's debtor, SSC's debtor. In this case, already SSC debtor is the bank. Banker is judgment debtor's debtor. Set up for appropriation. After receipt of the garnishee order or attachment order, any bank dues are there, the dues are going to be set off or appropriation from the deposit accounts. Available, this set off or appropriation is available, clear balances. It means defaulted balances, not contingent liabilities. Due amounts, the amount must be certain and the amount must be due. On that balances only, set off or appropriation is going to be this. This is also same. This is about garnishee order and attachment order. For all scales, this question they are asking, and JAB, most of the times they are asking one case study. That's why this is very important. Then partnership firm. Minimum number of partners 2 and maximum 50. In a partnership firm, minimum 2 and maximum 50 as per amendment 2015. Maximum 15. Defined, this minimum and maximum defined under Companies Act 2013. Minimum 2, maximum 50 defined in Companies Act 2013. HEF cannot be a partner in partnership firm and LLP. HEF, Hindu undivided family cannot be a partner in this. Liability of partners, jointly and severally liable. Partners are jointly and severally liable for any act of the firm under Section 25 of Partnership Act. Under Section 25 of Partnership Act, jointly several liability is there for partners. When a partnership firm is continued even after the expiry of the fixed term, that partnership is called as partnership at will. After fixed period, they are continuing the business, partnership at will. This question already asked in various examples. What is the consequences, effect of non-registration of partnership firm? The firm cannot sue others for its recovery of its dues. A partner of unregistered firm cannot enforce by way of suit any right. So both disadvantages are. This is the disadvantage for non-registered or unregistered partnership firm. At the time of opening of accounts in the bank, who is a beneficial owner in a partnership firm? Beneficial owner. More than 15% of capital or profits. Any partner is having more than 15% of capital or profits as per partnership firm deed, that partner is a beneficial owner. At the time of opening of the account in the banks, we have to mention this at the time of KYC complaints also. More than 15% of capital or profits. Clayton's rule. Very, very important for examinations, all examinations. Clayton's rule applicable to running accounts. Running means working capital, cash credit or overdraft. What is the meaning of this? In a running partnership account is a debit balance of, for example, 3 lakh debit balance is there. And funds deposited after death of the party. At the time of death of the party, debit balance in the account is 3 lakhs. After that death of the party, they had deposited 3,50,000. So the account came to credit balance of 50,000. Debit balance 3 lakhs, created 3,50,000, account turned to credit balance. Then afterwards, they had withdrawn 2,50,000. For this liability, liability of deceased partner customer in this case is nil, because already account is in debit balance. After his death, entire debit balance came into credit balance. So the debit first debit, then afterwards first credit is going to be crystallize the liability of the deceased partner. So to avoid this Clayton's case in partnership accounts, overdraft and cash credit accounts, on the date of death of the partner, further operations are going to be stopped in this account. Further operations bank is going to stop. Then they have to allow open a new account with existing partners. Banks are going to continue the transaction in the new account to avoid the Clayton's rule concept in partnership account, running accounts, cash credit and overdraft. Very, very important for promotions and CIB partnership. Limited liability. Limited Liability Partnership Act 2008. Regulating body for LLP is central government and Register of Companies. Register of Companies. LLP is registered with Register of Companies. ROC. Register of Companies. Minimum 2 partners in LLP. Maximum no limit. Maximum no limit. And every LLP shall be required. Every LLP shall be required to have at least 2 designated partners. In all the LLPs, how many designated partners? 2 partners are going to be designated as designated partners, 2. And who shall be individuals? And again, these 2 designated partners must be individuals only. 2 designated funds are required, and these 2 designated partners are individuals. First point. Second point, out of these 2 designated partners, at least one of the designated partner shall be a resident India. In this word is very complicated line. How many designated partners are required? 2. And these 2 must be individuals. Must be an individuals number. Second point. And out of these 2 individuals, one designated partner must be resident India. At least one must be resident India. So please note this point. Very complicated issue here in this line. Designated partners shall be accountable for regulatory and legal compliances. Besides their liability for all the regulatory legal compliances with ROC and other government authorities, these 2 designated partners are must. And out of these 2, one must be designated resident India. That's why it is a mandatory. They had mentioned this one. Minor and HEF cannot be partners in LLP. Minors and HEF. Liability. Liability of the partners is limited to the agreed contribution in the LLP. So, the advantage of the LLP is liability is limited to the agreed contribution of the LLP. This is the advantage. Same is disadvantage in partnership firm, advantage in LLP. Firms, Indian Partnership Act, all the firms under Indian Partnership Act 1932, private companies and unlisted public companies incorporated under Companies Act. Firms registered under Indian Partnership Act 1932 and private companies and unlisted public companies incorporated under Companies Act would be able to convert themselves into LLPs. It means partnership firms, private companies, unlisted public companies are allowed to convert into limited liability partnerships. So these are the important points from the limited liability partnership. Limited liability partnership. And other thing is Banking Regulation Act. Important sections only from the exam. Banking definition. Section 5B, banking definition. Accepting of deposits for the purpose of lending or investment. Accepting deposits for the purpose of lending. Section 5B. Section 5B, accepting deposits for the purpose of lending. So, accepting what purpose? For the purpose of lending. Section 11 of the Banking Regulation Act. If any foreign bank operating in India, that is the meaning, any foreign bank operating in India, the aggregate value of its paid up capital and reserves shall not be less than 50 lakhs. Any foreign bank operating in India, their aggregate paid up capital is not less than 15 lakhs of rupees. And if the foreign bank is having branches in Mumbai or Calcutta, 20 lakhs. 20 lakhs. Foreign banks operating in India, capital not less than 15 lakhs. And if the foreign bank is having branches in Mumbai or Calcutta, the capital requirement is 20 lakhs. 20 lakhs. Several times the question was asked in various examinations. Section 17, subsection 1, reserve fund. Before declaring dividend, all banks transfer to reserve fund 20% of current year net profit before declaring any dividend. From the current year profits, before declaring dividend, 20% they have to transfer to reserve fund. Reserve fund. Important question. Already various banks. As for section 19, subsection 2, very, very important section. 19, this is a banking company can hold shares in a company whether as pledge or mortgage as absolute owner up to 30% of paid up share capital of the company or 30% of paid up share capital and reserves of the bank, whichever is less. So a bank can hold shares in a company 30% of paid up capital of the company or 30% of paid up capital and reserves of the bank, whichever is less. All scales, this question is very, very important. This section is very, very important. Section 20, subsection 1. A bank cannot grant any loans against its own shares. A bank cannot grant loans against its own shares. This is the section 26A. DEF, Depositors Education Awareness Fund, was introduced in 2014 by amending 26A. Unclaimed deposits from the banking industry after completion of unclaimed or inoperative deposits beyond 10 years is going to be transferred to RBI. After completion of 10 years, within a period of 3 months, all banks they have to transfer these unclaimed deposit to RBI DEF, Depositors Education Awareness Fund. This is section is important, DEF important, unclaimed deposits of 10 years and above also important. Within how much period they have to deposit? These are all important. Section 35A. 35A. RBI has given powers to give direction to the banks in the public interest. Public interest. What are the things RBI has given powers? Ombudsman was introduced under section 35 for redressal of customer complaints. KYC as for 35A. Clean note policy also 35A. So this is the main objective for this section is public interest. Public interest. These are the some of the important sections from the. This is Banking Regulation Act 1940. This is registration of charge with register of companies ROC. This question in the whenever we are giving a loan to companies, this question charge creation comes into picture. Time limit for registration of charge with register of companies under section 77 of the Companies Act 2013. 77 of the Companies Act. From the date of documentation, here document date is important. From the date of documentation within 30 days from the date, they have to create charge with the ROC, Register of Companies. The ROC may permit registration if they are not created within 30 days. ROC may permit registration within 60 days of the creation of charge after satisfying about delay and repayment of additional fee. So first 30 days they are not created. So next 30 days means up to 60 days by paying additional fee. Even after within these 60 days, any company has not created charge, ROC may on application allow the registration. Further, they are allowing further 60 days by on payment of ad valorem fees. The charges are very high. Ad valorem fees are very high. This is important change. So once again I am repeating, charge normally from the date of documentation within 30 days. Under any of the conditions, in the first 30 days the company was not created. Next 30 days means up to 60. First 30 not, next 30 additional fees. Even after 60 days, the company was unable to create the charge. ROC is giving on application further 60 days. With ad valorem. So it means 30 normal charges, additional fee 30 days and ad valorem fees is 60 days. Up to 120 days they are allowing. After that they have to take permission from MCA, Minister of Corporate Affairs. This is about charge creation. Non-registration of charge, what is the impact? The charge shall not be taken into account by the liquidator in liquidation proceedings or any other creditor. The charge shall not be taken into account by the liquidator in liquidation proceedings or any other creditor. So, if any bank has given a loan, the charge was not registered with register of companies. Meanwhile, the company went for liquidation. The liquidator of the company is not going to accept that charge. That is the no. Penalty for non-filing of charges against the company. Within the time limit they had not filed. After that, the company is going to penalty for non-filing charges. Not minimum 1 lakh and maximum up to 10 lakhs. Not less than 1 lakh, but may be extended to 10 lakhs. This is a company, against the company. And against the officers of the company, imprisonment up to 6 months, imprisonment up to 6 months, or fine shall be not less than 25,000, which may be extended to 1 lakh. This is against the officers of the company. Imprisonment 6 months or fine minimum 25,000. It may be extended to 1 lakh. Against the company, fine not less than 1 lakh and not exceeded 10 lakhs. This is about the registration of charge. Sometimes they are asking charge, sometimes with late fee, ad valorem fee, how many days they are allowing. So, on this slide, they are asking various questions. This non-registration of charge, what is the impact? This is not going, whenever the company goes into liquidation, the liquidator is not going to taking the account of the securities. That is, at the time, bank is a unsecured creditor. So, this is the disadvantage. Agri clinic. One more important topic for promotional exams and CJAB, Agri clinic. Object of Agri clinics are to support agriculture community, farming community, agriculture community. This scheme was implemented by Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Government of India, with the NABARD acting as subsidy channelizing agency. But the scheme is originally Minister of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. NABARD scheme. NABARD is a channelizing agency for subsidy. Maximum loan we can give up to 100 lakhs for 5 members. In a 5 members group, we can give loan up to 100 lakhs. Means each member 20 lakhs. Agri clinic project cost for individual 20 lakhs. For individual 20 lakhs. No security up to 5 lakhs. Up to 5 lakhs agri clinic loans. Bank cannot insist security. This whatever the subsidy we are getting, that is a back-ended subsidy. It means up to 36 months the subsidy is going to be parked in deposit account. Deposit. Back-ended subsidy up to 36 months. How much subsidy the borrowers are getting? This is a composite subsidy of 44% of project cost for women, SC, ST and all categories northeastern and hill states. So it is a very good scheme. They are getting subsidy of 44% of total project cost for women, SC, ST and all other categories of candidates belongs to northeastern and hilly states. And remaining candidates 36% of the project cost. So 44% for women, SC, ST and all categories of candidates northeastern and hill. Others 36%. Very good scheme regarding the capital cash subsidy also back. But sometimes they are asking subsidy is front-ended, back-ended means back-ended. How many years you have to keep as deposit? 36 months. So these are all our examination questions. I have structured in such a manner for the benefit of the participant preparation. Eligibility of agri clinics educational qualification. Graduates in agriculture and allied subjects from state agriculture universities. Postgraduate diploma holders in agriculture and allied subjects. Diploma in agriculture. Diploma in agriculture. For diploma holders also, this scheme is applicable. Plus 2. After plus 2, diploma holders also, but the diploma holders after plus 2, at least they had secured 55 marks. Diploma in agriculture, biological sciences with the plus 2 qualification level, at least they have to secure minimum 55 marks in diploma. So this is the brief about agri clinics. Almost each point is one Exam question. Due diligence report. This is also very important. Lending under consortium arrangement. Lending under consortium arrangement. Multiple banking arrangements. Consortium means joint financing by 3 or 4 banks. Multiple banking means party dealing with different banks by giving different securities. No common understanding in multiple banks. In order to strengthen the information sharing between the consortium banks or multiple banks in respect of the borrower enjoying the credit facilities from multiple banks, the banks are required to obtain certificate at quarterly intervals. Regular certification by a professional, preferably a company secretary, chartered accountant or CMA, cost accountant, regarding complaints of various statutory prescriptions. So at the time of certificate giving by CS, CA, CMA, they have to verify whether the party has complied with the statutory prescriptions or not. This is about the thing. So due diligence report is must where consortium arrangement and multiple banking arrangements. The sharing of information, you can say borrower enjoying the sharing of. If any banks are not following, RBI noticed this non-sharing of information. At that time, RBI will impose heavy penalty against that banks. Against that banks. This was introduced in 10th February 2009. 2009. Very, very old. So this is due diligence certificate. Legal audit of title documents. Legal audit. Legal audit of title documents in respect of large loan accounts. Means 5 crores and above. Large means 5 crores and above loan accounts. Banks should also subject the title deed and other documents verification. After sanctioning, banks are not verifying at regular intervals the title deeds and other documents. Through this legal audit of title documents, banks should also subject the title deeds and other documents in respect of all credit exposure of 5 crores and above at a periodical level. This periodic level has to be decided by bank board approved policy. Some banks they are doing 3 years, some banks 2 years. So this is at what interval it has to be decided by respective banks board. And re-verification. This is not a one time. This is a continuous exercise as per this periodical interval till the closure of the loan, till the loan stands fully repaid. Why this was introduced in RBI? Because once the borrowers after taking the loan, again the same security against that they are taking another loan from other banks. To avoid that, at a regular periodical intervals, the bank advocate is going to verify these title deeds and other documents with various regulators, company accounts, with the ROC and SARSAI registration, tax repayments. So registry documents with the registry authorities. So they are going to verify all these things. This is about legal audit of title documents. In all scales also, you please say IOB, BOB, every time they are asking these questions. Legal audit of title. Dear viewers, thank you very much for extending your support towards our channel. Thank you very much for all for watching our videos regularly.